Forward and Out has been made possible by the generous support of the following: The Loft, Lesbian and Gay Community Services Center, In the Life, Stephanie's Living Room, Psychological Motivations, The Color Group, Carol Halbert, Licensed Associate Broker, The Coven Cafe, Bars Club Cafe, Metropolitan Design Associates, the Second National Gay and Lesbian Business and Consumer Expo.
The spread of HIV and AIDS is continuing to rise, and according to our guest today, current figures are 10 to 15 years behind the epidemic. But what does this mean in terms of actual numbers, and how do lesbians figure into the statistics? I'm Sandra Gonzalez, and welcome to Forward and Out. Join me in welcoming Jan Elven, HIV Prevention Supervisor at the Family Health Center in Newburgh, New York. Thank you for being with us today, Jane.
Well, thanks for having me here.
Let's start a little bit with the work that you do at the Family Health Center.
I run an HIV prevention and education program and a counseling and testing program. Mm-hmm. We do over 1,000 HIV tests a year, and we pick up an additional, I'd say 6 to 8 new infections every month.
Really, that many?
That many.
Wow.
Over half of our clients, our infected population, are women, mm-hmm. and over half of them were married and monogamous and didn't know they had a risk. They were infected by their husbands.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really tragic. The problem is that the data that we get from the Centers for Disease Control mm-hmm. and from the New York State Department of Health is based on diagnosed AIDS, the number of cases that are actually diagnosed. Mm-hmm. What that means is that a person has to have HIV, and they have to have a disease that's on the list of diagnosable diseases that the CDC put out some time ago. Mm-hmm. 65% of American women with HIV infection have died without a diagnosis, because when the CDC put that list together, they had studied only men.
Right.
So women were dying of cervical cancer that in an uninfected woman we can clear up rather nicely, but if she has HIV, she tends to die.
Really?
Yes, and since men seldom get cervical cancer, guess what? It's not on the list, and it's not diagnosable, so she never gets counted.
And those, I mean, obviously if she dies of cervical cancer, those are not considered opportunistic infections. Those are cancer-related deaths, and it goes in the records as something else.
Well, there are cancers that men with HIV have gotten that are considered AIDS, like Kaposi's sarcoma, mm-hmm. right? What happens is, since they studied only men to make their list of diagnosable diseases, anything that's gynecologically related, of course, is not on the list.
Right, right.
This is not new. This is not about AIDS. This is how American medicine has always worked. Mm-hmm. They don't study women. We just learned recently how an aspirin affects a woman's body.
Right.
So there's a lot of women's issues that involved in medicine that just get compounded when we talk about HIV and AIDS. What that does, though, with our stats is it makes it look like it's primarily a men's problem, and mm-hmm. it's not. Women are dying of advanced HIV disease. If they live long enough to get a disease that a man gets and makes it to the list, mm-hmm. then they get counted. So the data that you're seeing is well behind the epidemic.
Right.
People can live 10, 15 years or longer, very, very healthy, mm-hmm. without symptoms whatsoever. And in fact, some people may never become ill.
Right.
The problem is, if we count only diagnosed age, which is at the advanced end of that spectrum, we're not counting all of the infected people, many of whom have other illnesses.
Right.
So we're way behind what's real.
Well, let's talk a little bit about how people contract AIDS. I don't want this to sound like we're beating a dead horse, but and there's been plenty written about how people contract AIDS, but I want to take away some of the misconceptions about that. How is the disease contracted?
Well, the only way a person can get an HIV infection is to get somebody else's blood, semen, a man's cum, or vaginal secretions inside their own bodies. That's it. Oh, also breast milk.
Right.
So if you're making love with a nursing mother, you need to be careful of the breast milk. If you don't want to get HIV, all you need to do is think very carefully about blood, semen, a guy's cum, vaginal secretions, and breast milk. Think about how they could get in your body.
Right.
Then either choose not to do that or put a latex barrier between you and that behavior.
Now, what group of people are the fastest growing number of HIV infections? I mean, you touched on that a little bit.
Well, I think it's not so much groups of people as it is behaviors. People who are doing behaviors that get blood, semen, or vaginal secretions into their bodies are at profound risk. We're finding, though, if you want to talk about groups, that heterosexual women, especially young women, are the fastest acknowledged group that are getting infected. We don't have a clue how many lesbians are getting infected.
Right.
The Centers for Disease Control has refused to keep data on us. As a matter of fact...
They've flatly refused.
Yes.
I don't quite understand that. I mean, is that...
Well, they say it's negligible. However, I continue to go to funerals for lesbians who've died of AIDS and HIV.
So how negligible is it?
Yeah, not very. What the Centers for Disease Control says is that any woman who's had sex with a man is not a lesbian. Well, that would revoke my dyke license. I don't know about you, but there aren't that many of us who have never tried that.
Right.
Right? And I found the best was boring. So being a lesbian is really a self-defined thing, not a CDC-defined thing.
Right.
But by their definition, I wouldn't be a lesbian, and I don't know of any of my friends who would be either. However, what they say is that she must have gotten it from that one time with that man, right? So therefore they don't count it. In the meantime, I personally know lesbians who've been infected by having sex with women, unsafe sex with women. So it's a real thing.
I mean, they don't take into account the fact that some people might have been drug users or anything else. I mean, that seems so outrageous.
If we're 10 to 20% of the population, we're 10 to 20% of every kind of person that there is. That includes at least 10 to 20% of the needle drug users in this country are lesbians and gay men. So we clearly have that as an issue in our community. In fact, substance use is a serious issue in our community. I'm very concerned about it.
Right.
But if we could, as a nation, start talking about behaviors and not about kinds of people, we'd all be better off, because it's really what you choose to do more than who you choose to do it with that puts you at risk.
Right.
If you choose to get vaginal secretions in your mouth or in a cut on your hands, and your partner has HIV, you've put yourself at risk for HIV.
Right. Now, going back to the CDC's definition, and I mean, if there is something written in there about behaviors, which you're talking about, what is considered a realistic behavior? I mean, you talk about safe sex techniques, and I don't want to jump too far ahead.
We'll go into that a little later.
We'll go into that a little bit later. But female secretions, does that include menstrual blood?
Absolutely, absolutely. HIV is a virus that loves to live in human white blood cells, so its highest concentration is in those fluids that are full of white blood cells by nature. Blood is loaded with white blood cells, so menstrual blood is blood, and if a woman has HIV, her menstrual blood is really very high concentration of virus. Very, very dangerous. This is very sad for lesbians. We like our juices. We really do. So I think we need to acknowledge that too. I think we've got some grieving to do, and I think we've got some choices to make. I just want us to make those choices with our eyes open.
Right.
I think that if gay men had looked at this seriously 15 years ago, we wouldn't be going to so many funerals today. I think in the lesbian community, we have woman-to-woman transmission. If we start getting serious about that right now, we may not have to have our community decimated in the way that gay men's community has been.
Right.
So I think it's up to us to just make decisions with our eyes open these days.
Now, what are some of the similarities between men and women affected by AIDS? I mean, obviously there are some things that happen in the later stages that...
Things like wasting syndrome happens to both men and women, certainly pneumonia. Whatever body organs we have in common that are affected by HIV virus, both men and women get. It's where we're different from males that different things happen. For women, one of the earliest indicators is recurrent vaginal yeast infections.
Really?
Really. Recurrent, persistent, very difficult to treat. You treat it, it clears up, and it's right back a day or two later. That's an early indicator of HIV disease in women. That's caused...
Do you think that, I mean, I don't mean to interrupt you, but do you think that the gynecological community is beginning to spread that information to their patients? I mean, this is something that I didn't know. I'm hearing for the first time.
Well, the reason for that is that it's not classified as an AIDS indicator disease because, of course, it's a women's issue. In fact, it's caused by an organism called Candida, which is the same organism that causes oral thrush and esophageal thrush. If you have Candida or esophageal thrush, if you have it in your throat, it's an AIDS indicator disease. You get diagnosed. If you have it in your vagina, it doesn't count. Same organism, different orifice, right?
Yeah.
Go figure. It's really welcome to America. It's because men have throats and not vaginas that's why that happened. The CDC, by the way, you should know this, has been willing to change its definition for some time. And in fact, a couple of years ago, they did add invasive cervical cancer to their list, not vaginal yeast, however. And they added several other conditions that broaden the definition. However, if they were to include all of the women-specific things that we're seeing, a lot more people would suddenly be eligible for expedited Social Security disability benefits. And every year, the Centers for Disease Control tries to broaden the definition, and every year, the Social Security Administration blocks that because it would cost more money. Intriguingly, it's women who are traditionally have fewer resources than men who are being left out of the benefits. Right.
Well, I'd like to remind our audience that this is Forward and Out, and we're talking to Jan Elven of the Newburgh Family Health Center. Let's talk a little bit about the numbers. I usually don't like to get into stats because they can be misleading and frightening and alarmist.
They really can be.
They can be, but I think in this particular case it is important to mention. What would you say is the estimate of HIV-positive lesbians in this area versus the national numbers?
No data is kept on that. We can only guess. I personally know 13 lesbians in Ulster County where I live.
Who are HIV positive?
Yes.
Or in later stages?
Both.
Both.
From who are just simply infected and not ill to very, very ill. And in fact, last week another friend died. So those are just among people I happen to know in Ulster County, and I know them because I live there.
Right.
And they tend to call me because they know the work that I do. There's no data kept, though. My friend Denise Ribble, who's been really in the forefront of the issue of lesbians and AIDS, worked at the Community Health Project in Manhattan years ago and started the first lesbian support group for women with AIDS. And she had...
I'm sorry, how many years ago was that?
This, I think, was probably, we're getting 8 to 10 years ago, a long time ago.
A long time ago.
And she had 28 people. Way back then.
Long before.
Way back then.
All the talk began about.
Yes. And there's no data kept anywhere about this, though, because if they did this through behaviors, we'd be better off. If they said how many people were infected from digital sex, fingers and vaginas or anuses, right? That would give us a hint. If they said how many people were infected by cunnilingus, going down on your partner, that would give us a hint. But they don't do that. They do it by groups of people. So they do it by gay men, by needle drug use, by heterosexual women, hemophiliacs, those kinds of categories that don't tell you so much about behavior as they do about the kind of person. that confuses everybody.
Is there any kind of specific outreach that's beginning to happen with the lesbian community with regard to this type
There's no funding for that kind of thing. I can tell you, though, that we are doing the best we can. Denise Ribble and I do latex lace and lesbian parties, which are a lot of fun, and we bring our toys.
Sound awfully kinky.
Yeah, and it's usually a potluck because for some reason where we live, people like potlucks a lot, and, and so people just gather together in somebody's home. We have 20 or 30 people at a time, and we teach people how to have fun safely.
Yeah.
It's those kinds of grassroots efforts that are happening. There are, to my knowledge, very few organized efforts to reach lesbians.
So that kind of grassroots thing, is that something that you've been doing for a very long time in your work?
Yes.
It is?
Yes, and lesbians who have been doing this work have... My job is to take care of straight people and drug users and gay men, and in my personal life, I want to give what I know to our community. There's no funding for me to run a project for lesbians. I can't put those stats in a monthly report.
Right.
You know, there's no way
amazing.
I can spend my work time with that focus. I can include it in larger things, and I always do. I always figure that if there are women in the group, there are lesbians in the group too, and so I address behaviors and not who we are.
Right.
So we talk about cunnilingus and how you make that safer. But in terms of really focusing in on lesbian issues, no. I would love to see us doing it nationally through our network. You're doing it right now, which I think is wonderful and very important. I'd like to see it at Michigan and all of the music festivals.
Well, and just preparing for the show, I think about all the ad campaigns and things that I've seen from the gay men's health crisis, and they're very valid and they're good and they're welcomed, and I'm glad that they're there. But it made me realize that I've never quite seen that for the lesbian community.
Well, Gay Men's Health Crisis has put out a pamphlet on safer sex for lesbians, woman to woman, and they were, I think, one of the first ever to do that, so that's wonderful, but they're very rare and hard to find. Yeah. So it's through efforts like yours that I think we're going to get the word out. And of course, we love to talk. Lesbians just love to talk. So if everybody who's viewing this program just called 5 of your closest friends and told them, you know, and you each called 5 of your closest friends.
Well, they'll certainly have plenty to tell them after you get through demonstrating some of the things that you've brought to show us today. I turn it over to you. These are some safe sex.
Some things you can do to have fun and be safe. Now, we need to think about how you could get blood, semen, or vaginal secretions into your body. And when you're working with lesbians, you have to include semen because sometimes lesbians have sex with men.
Right.
And need to know about that too. So what you need to do is put a condom on every penis. Period.
Regardless of
whose it is and where they're putting it.
Yeah.
Doesn't
and why
matter
it's there,
if it's in
and
your
that's
mouth
certainly
or
not
your anus or your vagina.
Right.
Right. So that having been said, now let's focus on what you do with women.
Let's just
think about how you might get vaginal secretions or blood into your own body.
You've got quite an array of things here.
Yes, I do. The first thing that's very important is to be aware of the condition of your hands and your mouth. I have a cut here, so it's covered, right? If I touch my lover and get her vaginal secretions into my cut and she has HIV, I've just exposed myself to HIV. My skin is a perfect protective barrier unless it's open. So I've got a cut there, and that's a spot I'd need to be careful with. I'd need to wear a glove too. I have chapped lips right now too. So
chapped lips, that's interesting. That's something I came across in the material as well. And I would have never thought chapped lips.
Any place where there's an opening in the skin is a welcome mat for the virus. Before you go out on your date, look in the mirror, get yourself a flashlight, check your mouth, check your gums, check your tongue, check under your tongue, check your cheeks inside.
Right.
If you have any sores or openings, the virus can get in that way, and you need to know that. A great way to check is to take some hydrogen peroxide and swish it around in your mouth. Wherever it fizzes, you've got an opening.
Very interesting.
Yes.
Very interesting.
You've got to spit that stuff out, too. Don't swallow it.
Certainly don't swallow it.
No.
No.
Spit it out. All right?
Once again, this is Forward and Out, and we're here with Jan Elven.
Okay. You want to have a barrier between yourself and your girlfriend's vaginal secretions.
Now, this was
This is
very interesting. When you
dental
pull
dams.
this out of your little bag of tricks, I mean, I've heard the words dental dam now for quite a while. I've never actually seen one.
You've never actually seen one.
No,
Well, these are
no. Sad,
these are
sad to
nice.
admit, but I've never actually seen one.
We'll show you.
And it's not at
exactly
all what
how
I
these
thought it would
work.
look like.
Right, this is just a square piece of latex. Feel that it's got a little powder on it. This is what a dentist
With
uses
a little
to,
give.
Right, a little give.
Mm-hmm.
The dentist uses it to isolate a tooth to keep it dry while they're working on it. They'll punch a little hole in it and put your,
Gee,
your
my
tooth
dentist
through it.
never worked
That's
with
the
one of these.
old-fashioned kind, right? What we use it for is it's a barrier that goes between your mouth and your partner's vagina. You can hold it over your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
You can do fun things. You can hold it over her vagina, or she can hold it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have any kind of skill, at some point she's letting go. So you're going to be better off holding it, right?
If you have any kind of skill, that one almost
Yeah.
went right over my head. Okay.
Right. So you want to keep a grip on this. You don't want to lose it.
Right.
Because you don't want vaginal secretions in your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, you do, but you don't.
you
with
don't
HIV,
really,
you
yeah.
don't. You know, see, now that's the problem.
We
for
wish
us.
we live in a world where we didn't have to use any of this, right?
Wouldn't that be wonderful?
That would be great. Yes, it would.
To make this feel better to her, take a water-based gel like KY,
Mm-hmm.
and you need this. Either put it on one side of the dental dam that's going to be next to her skin, or put it directly on her skin, because a dry dental dam, it can irritate a clitoris, you know, and you want it to feel good to her,
Mm-hmm.
okay? These are one time only, and then you throw them away. These are hard to find. You can't get them like at any local dental supply store. They're not in every street corner. So you can make a dental dam with a condom. You just take a regular condom. A dry one is best. I don't happen to have a dry one with me today, though. This is
But that's not to say
lubricated,
this.
which
Oh,
is
okay.
fine.
That was my question. If you couldn't find a dry
Then
one,
use a lubricated one. It's just that the dry ones taste a little better.
yeah.
Okay. Cut off. I don't know if you can see this. Just cut off the nipple tip
Mm-hmm.
with one snip, and then put the scissors through your hole you made, and make one cut.
And there
Right.
you go.
Right.
And
then you
unroll
open it up, and again, this will go between your mouth and your partner's vagina.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Truthfully, the first time my partner and I tried this,
Now this appears, excuse me, but this is a bit thinner than that.
it
Does
is. It's thinner and it's more elastic. I like these better myself. I
Right.
really do. You can have a lot of fun with these. You really can.
Much like you're having right
Yeah,
now.
much like I'm having right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
The first time we tried this, it was totally safe because we were laughing so hard nothing could happen, right?
Well,
get
I'm sure
playful
there's
and have fun.
Yeah, initially I'm sure that there's, with all of these things here, there's probably a moment of
Yeah.
awkwardness.
There's a
and-
lot of awkwardness until you get
Yeah.
used to it.
Oh my, it is rather stretchy, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Let me show you what you can do here. Too, a lot of people are concerned that they're not going to feel anything through this. So hold out your hand like this. I'm going to hold this here, and you just lick your palm. Okay? Did your palm? Yeah, does your palm feel that?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Does your tongue feel it?
Uh-huh.
So you can feel
tastes
both ways.
really awful, though.
It does, because we got the
Yeah,
naloxone on mine. I'm sorry.
That's pretty nasty.
Yeah. Here, have some water.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, let's get on to this. I thought this was rather
this is
interesting
fun.
when you pulled this
This
out.
is called Aqua Girl.
I just love the title.
This is
Our executive producer said it would remind, every time she went to the Y, it was going to remind
Right.
her of this.
This was made initially as a disposable bathing suit, but it's perfect for safer sex. You just put this on, and then the barrier's already there,
Yeah.
right? Okay, and a lot of people have fun with these. I'm not sure where you can get these, actually. You might try Eve's Garden. I'm sure.
And
they
this,
can help
it
you
would
find
go
them.
by, is this sort of a generic name, Aqua Girl?
Yeah, I think so. Now here we've got safer sex panties, where
I thought these were
these are fun.
pretty cool.
Yeah, these are hot. What you do is just take a hot pair of underpants and cut out the crotch, and then just hand baste in a dental dam, or one that you've made out of your condom.
And
Okay,
that
and
will
that's
hold
fun.
up to the stitching. Something like this will hold up to
Yeah,
the stitching.
yeah. But then you're going to want to replace it the next time.
Right.
Okay? One time only for all of these. But you can keep the panties, just keep replacing that. If you don't have latex, what you can do is take regular plastic wrap. Whoops. And you want a big piece of it. A lot of people like this because it covers a big area.
And you don't have to
And you
worry
can make
about
it
it
as big as
slipping
you
as
want.
much. And,
Exactly,
Right.
exactly. But because it's made for microwaves, it's porous. and you don't want virus getting through. What you do is you take a lubricant, a water-based lubricant with naloxone 9. Naloxone 9 inactivates HIV virus. And you just squirt this generous amount over here, and you're going to want to rub that around. We'll just mush it around a bit. Okay? And fold it over so you're making a sandwich. So then any virus has to pass through one layer, go through the naloxone 9, which inactivates it, and then still get through the other layer.
Right.
But that again goes between your mouth and your partner's vagina.
Right.
And this covers can cover a broader area. You can get a better grip. You can also take some take a garter belt. This is fun. You're going to want to shorten the straps though, because otherwise they'll be hanging down there.
Right.
So shorten the straps, and then put your plastic wrap on that, or your dental dam.
Okay, well, I don't mean to rush you through some of this, but I am getting my cue now. I just want to leave our viewers with one thing. I see that you have a dildo on the table, the importance of using condoms.
Yes, you don't want to share sex toys. If you do need to share a sex toy, put a condom on it first for your first partner, then take the condom off and put a fresh one on for the next person. You can wash these with bleach, with hydrogen peroxide, something that'll make sure that the virus doesn't get past, but don't share toys, no.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Well, unfortunately, we're out of time, and I wish we had gotten to this portion of our show a little bit earlier, because I see that we didn't get to a couple of things, but maybe you'll come back and share some more information with us. Thank you for being with us on Forward today. If you have any questions or comments, or would like some information about this particular topic, please write to Forward and Out, P.O. Box 583, White Plains, New York, 10603. Thank you for joining us. See you next time.
Your local Gay and Lesbian Community Services Center is a place to connect and get involved. Various ongoing groups and social events are conducted at or by your center, and it is also a clearinghouse of gay and lesbian information nation and worldwide. We urge you to join, get involved, and support your community. If you need information about HIV and AIDS, ARCS, AIDS-related community services, offers counseling, support groups, referrals, educational forums, and much more. Call the ARCS AIDS line at 914-992-1442. ARCS is here to help.